Hi, I'm Mari Kinsella from IEC Group, and we're the organiser of the Free From an Allergy virtual series. And I'm delighted to be having a chat today with Luke Mangan. And we are getting his expert advice on eating out if you or your children have an allergy or a food intolerance. Now, Luke Mangan is a leading Australian restaurateur and chef. His influences on the food and wine industry can be found on the carriages of the Eastern Oriental Express, at sea, on P&O cruise ships, and most recently on TV as Coles supermarket ambassador, sharing recipes on the What's for Dinner cooking campaign. It's great to have you here, Luke. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And thank you for that nice introduction.
Thanks. Look, I've actually got first-hand experience of eating out with my daughter who has got severe allergies to nuts in particular. And we know that allergies and intolerances are increasing with the research that's coming out from the Murdoch Children's Research Institute. So I wanted to ask you, do you believe that restaurants and staff are thoroughly educated on the severity of allergies and intolerances that your customers might have?
I would like to think they are, but in saying that, I would think not all of them would be. And I think that varies from restaurants to cafes to casual eateries. So I think you would find that perhaps more the top end style of restaurant or upmarket fine dining, where there is a lot more detail in training and things like that with their staff, it would be encouraged for them to understand that all about allergies and things like that. So pretty much to answer your questions, I would think the lower end perhaps would not be so knowledgeable of it.
Okay. So there's more discussion these days about allergies and intolerances in the community and in the media. Do you believe that restaurants are becoming more accommodating with your clients when they're mentioning about allergies and intolerance to certain foods? So are they becoming more accommodating?
Yeah, I would think in this day and age they would need to be. And any smart business person who has a restaurant, cafe, or whatever it may be, should be, have that positive approach towards any customer or any diner coming to your venue. So I think as we keep moving on, and you can walk into supermarkets now and see all the different labelling and things that are out there. So restaurants will certainly need to step up their game.
So if I have a really severe food allergy, or instance, what are some of the tips you can give me of how I should approach the staff and approach the waiter and talk through my food allergy and intolerance? Like, what tips can you give me and our community on how they should approach the staff at restaurants?
I would think that the first thing would be to when you make your booking, or firstly, maybe before you make the booking, have a look at the venue's menu online, trying to understand the menu. And then when you make that booking, either whether it's email or on a phone call, explain what the problems are, the allergies, and see if they can accommodate. And I would, as I said before, I would like to think most restaurants would, and cafes, but you never know. And then what I find is once they've had that conversation, what is also good to be 100% sure is when you get to the venue, ask for the manager, or you could even ask for the chef to have a chat, because you're quite concerned that you have some allergies and we just want to clarify what they are. And what I've found with some customers who bring in a piece of paper with all their allergies, or perhaps what they can't eat, what they can eat, and things like that. And I think it's very important to be crystal clear with the venue, with the chef or the manager, on what it is. And I would like to think in this day and age, 99.9% of the chef or restaurateur would be very much accommodating.
Okay, so you mentioned that people would come in sometimes with a list of their intolerances, and what's becoming more popular are chef cards. Have you had much experience yourself with chef cards?
Well, chef cards, is that in a customer bringing in a piece of paper with their
Yes,
allergies, or yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Well,
They've had
we've had
printed off cards.
yeah, we've had many customers come in with them, and that really helps. It actually makes the whole transition a lot smoother. And obviously, if you're in a corporate gathering at a restaurant and you're with a lot of other people, and sometimes people don't want to make a scene in front of their guests, or let everyone know what the situation is. So that's when you can speak to the restaurant manager before you sit down, or on the side, or the chef, and visit the chef, and have that conversation. So everything's, that you as a customer who have the allergies uh, can sit back and enjoy the meal, and know that you've got the confidence of the restaurant or the chef and the team to serve that food.
And so, is there a specific format a chef prefers, or an easy way to write out or explain your allergies on the card?
No, I don't think so. I
Is
think
there
it's
a
just crystal clear that where I'm allergic to onion, or gluten, or whatever it may be, and as long as that's very clear. But also, what is good is perhaps let the venue know what you like to eat, a day or two in advance, what you can eat. And some chefs like myself would go, oh, okay, let's be creative and let's try something new. And that item actually might end up on the menu eventually, be
mm,
in the certain venue. So I think communication, as in anything, in the restaurant business or the corporate world, whatever it may be, communication is the key to success, and that will just make the whole journey a lot smoother for everyone.
okay? So, can we talk about drinks? So, in your
Mm.
experience, how much knowledge do staff have behind the bar on specific products and their ingredients? And do you think the onus is on the client or the customer to do their research about specific drink products if they've got an intolerance before they order the drinks? So this is the bar
I
staff we're talking about now.
Yeah, I would think, again, in the more fine dining establishments, top end establishments, you would have more knowledgeable staff and bar staff.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, and I'm not going to answer on behalf of people listening, but what I would do, I would take responsibility as a customer to make sure I know what's in that drink, because
Yes.
I think that's most important, because sometimes a barman or bar person could be serving hundreds of drinks in that 5 minutes you talk to them, and
Mm.
forget an ingredient, and that could be not a good situation for anyone. So I would put it back on the customer, whether he or she goes to eat or drink, to follow up on those things.
Okay. So I'm not sure this would happen very often, but what do you suggest the best thing to do if you feel like a waiter isn't taking what you're saying seriously about your allergy
Mm.
or intolerance? What should you do in that situation?
I would just certainly ask for he or she's supervisor or manager, or go above until you feel that you're confident you've been noticed and heard. I think that's imperative. Look, at the end of the day, you're a customer in an establishment, and uh, especially with the year we've all had, every business needs every dollar spent in its business, and we all want return customers, and we want to make sure customers are happy when they come, and also when they leave. So you will generally, I would like to think that you would find someone in an establishment that is willing to bend over backwards to make your experience as memorable as possible, so you come back and you tell friends as well that the experience you've
Okay.
had, and how you were accommodated, and how you were well looked after. And I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, yeah. So you've been in lots of kitchens before at restaurants. How do you feel chefs react when they're being asked about their preparation. So when the waiter comes in and said, oh, I've got a customer here, they want to know exactly how you're preparing this. How do you think chefs react when they're so busy, and we understand it's a high pressure environment? Tell us what you've experienced. And of course, being a great chef yourself, how difficult is it for you when you're suddenly getting these demands, being asked about how have you prepared this in such great detail that is required by the customer?
Well, we are so much better adapted and equipped for it now than we were perhaps 5-10 years ago, because we're noticing more of these requirements when people do come to the restaurants. So what I like to do, and we have busy restaurants, thank God, but what I would like to do if a customer asks me how we prepare something or cook something, and most of my head team, managers and leaders in the businesses would bring them to the kitchen, or I would go to the table and speak to the customer when I'm there, and I would go through step by step. Now, I think it's really important to do that because, again, it really does come back to common sense, I think, and customer service. And
Yes.
I want my restaurants there in 10 years' time. So I really want customers to keep coming back, and I want to make sure that they enjoy the whole experience. Now, it's very often I would take a customer to the kitchen and explain how we do things, what we do with this, and why we do it, et cetera, so they get the confidence. A lot of my restaurants all have open kitchens, and that's important to me because I think that creates a theatre and an ambience in the restaurant. And then people can see how clean they are and the hygiene that goes behind it all, and the quality and the hard work of each individual in the kitchen. So I'm very big in the interaction with the customer and making sure they feel secure.
So is it okay, you mentioned before about that as a customer you can ask to speak to chef
Yeah, why
about
not?
the meal itself? So you
Unless
can say, can I
they're
speak?
Gordon Ramsay. He
Well,
may
I
take it the
feel
wrong
that
way, I
chefs,
don't know.
I feel sometimes, chefs, it sounds really intimidating if you say, oh, can I speak to chef about my intolerance and I need to understand more to be comfortable? Is that okay?
Yeah, well, I think some chefs who think like that they're more important than the customer, perhaps shouldn't be in the position they're in.
Fair enough. So, would you say to our audience that it's really up to them to do their research before they venture out to a restaurant to make sure that that venue can cater for their needs? I know you've spoken a lot today about communication, but would you also suggest that everyone listening who has an allergy or intolerance or has children, but do your research first, or just wing it and know that something can be prepared for you?
Well, I think there's a lot of allergies that are quite more severe than others, obviously. So I
Yes.
think it depends on that individual person. But I think the more preparation you can do in advance, the better for the outcome. But again, you might be on holiday and just walk into a cafe all of a sudden. You would like to think, but I think you're going to get it after you speak to the waiter, waitress, or manager, whether they're going to do the right thing. And
Yes.
say what they, do what they say they can do.
Yes. Yeah.
But again, to answer it, I do as much preparation as you can.
Okay, thank you. So the takeout that I'm getting from our discussion is definitely do your preparation, but it's all about communication. Communication to the waiter, and then if you're not comfortable, then ask to speak to the manager, and then you can ask to speak to the chef. Is that what you say the main takeouts today? Yeah.
Well, that's how I
Terrific.
run my restaurants, and I would like to think many other of my colleagues would do the same. But you never. There's a lot of rogue people out there in rogue businesses. So, it really is up to the customer to just to make sure they feel confident and get what they want out of the whole experience. It's like buying a car, I guess, or or booking a hotel.
And I suppose if a customer finds that they're getting great service and there's great understanding, that you just keep going back to that restaurant and you tell all your friends and family about the
Yeah,
great service that you've been given.
100%, and that's what it's all about. We really are in the service business in restaurants. Sometimes chefs just think it's all about the food, which it is a component, but in our business, it's food, service, wine, lighting, music, flowers, etc., and that customer experience, and that customer wanting to come back to your establishment.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Luke, for your time today. It's great to get your expert advice, and especially for our community who do have allergies and intolerance, to hear some of your messages to give them encouragement to go out there and enjoy themselves. They can do that, and there is understanding in the restaurant industry.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Luke, and thanks also to Coles for allowing us to have you here today. Bye for now.